What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So today we're going to do a reaction video. So we're actually going to react to this student loan problem for people who are older, people who are ready to retire. They can't retire because they owe student loans. And it's not always because they've gone back to college later on in life and taken out these loans, but they're doing the PLUS program with student loans where they're paying their kids' student loans or their grandchildren's student loans. And so we're seeing seniors continuing to go deeper and deeper into debt because of student loans. So that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to react to this video. But first off, if you guys can do me a favor, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos, so by clicking the bell notification, clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And as always, thank you guys all for your support. I really appreciate it. And you can also follow me on Twitter at the TEC Show Live. Okay, so let's go ahead and get right over to this clip. Here we go.
Your U.S. Department of Education student loan servicer.
How do you feel getting those messages?
Oh, it gives me anxiety, yeah, because I know I have to face paying this.
Patricia Rizzo took out 7 Parent Plus loans over 8 semesters to get her daughter, Emily Rizzo, through Skidmore College.
Would your daughter have been able to go to school without the Parent Plus loan?
No. This was the bulk of the tuition.
The Department of Education limits the amount of federal loans students qualify for per year, so families can turn to another federal option, Plus.
So this is the problem right here. I mean, one problem is that, first off, schools are just too expensive. And then when you want to take out loans, the kid can only take out a certain amount of loans, and then the parents can take out a certain amount of loans. So it's just, I mean, it's not set up the right way. And when it comes to student loans, I was one, I had student loans, I had to pay mine off. And most people do get to that point where they pay their student loans off. But this is a huge problem. The fact that schools are so expensive that you have to take out these large loans in order just to pay for your school. I mean, most people now don't have the money. Most families don't have the money to send their kids to college and actually pay for it. It's just way too expensive. So you have to take out these loans. And now you're tied behind these loans for 10, 20 years. And it's just, I mean, it's affecting everything else. It's affecting your retirement plans. It's affecting everything.
Also known as Direct Plus or Parent Plus loans. These allow parents or guardians to take out loans for their dependents. For Rizzo, her interest rates on Plus loans vary from 6 to 7%.
The scary part is how much interest it accrues over time. The principal was $100,000, but I accrued $26,000 in interest. And this is my balance right now, $126,160.
So she owed $100,000, and just the interest was $26,000. Crazy.
What started as a decision to improve her daughter's future has now impacted the possibilities for her own.
And what I'm looking at right now is paying it over 20 years, which will make me 82.
82. Wow. What about retirement?
I can't think about retiring.
Recent surveys find 26% of parents with Plus loan debt will not retire as initially planned. The Plus program, beginning in the 1980s, now facing a different U.S. economy. The average amount of student loan debt for borrowers over 60 roughly doubled from 2005 to 2015. And for borrowers over 60, most of that debt is for their children.
Traditionally, this loan was developed to help parents who were middle income be able to afford a 4-year education. Instead, we're seeing it be more and more lower income or middle income families get in over their heads on this debt.
These loans can cover up to the cost of attendance, so long as borrowers pass a credit check, meaning some parents are borrowing much more than they can afford. In Rizzo's case, she earns around $40,000 a year working at a drug rehab center in New Jersey. The 62-year-old plans to pay the loan off, but has not started making payments. As debt climbs, so too does public debate.
They would get relief.
Canceling student loan debt.
$50,000. Paying the student loan and paying the rent.
The Biden administration paused student loan payments until May 1st, 2022. For those struggling to pay these loans, there are options, including a federal direct consolidation loan, talking to loan servicers about interest, being mindful of refinancing in the private market, and knowing that declaring bankruptcy for student debt is hard. That's according to Fishman, not a financial expert, but an expert in education policy. She adds that if not paid, the government can come after Social Security, wages, tax refunds, and it can negatively impact credit.
We really need to.
Okay, so that's very important to understand. If you are a senior and you owe student loan debt, they can take your Social Security away from you. So I mean, it's really crazy. So you have to pay this back. It's very difficult to file bankruptcy and get your student loans wiped away. So that's something that's really hard to do. It's much easier if you have credit card debt or if you have other debt to file for bankruptcy and get that wiped away. But when it comes to student loan debt, you're pretty much tied to that. Matter of fact, when I got my loans, they told us you can't file for bankruptcy. You're going to have to pay this off.
To focus on improving affordability for low and middle income families so that we aren't having to rely on intergenerational debt.
Do you regret taking on the Parent Plus loan?
I can't say I regret because my daughter has accomplished so much.
How did you feel when she crossed that stage?
She went above and beyond, and I was very proud of her.
Zincle is with us now, and it is so interesting and I think so relevant, Zincle, to anybody, who's been through college, had student loan debt, has current student loan debt. And we know that this program has had some criticism, but historically Black colleges fought pretty hard to keep it going during the Obama years.
Yeah, Hallie, and it's such a complicated program, right? When the Obama administration tried to roll back the number of borrowers eligible for PLUS, they got instant pushback from HBCUs. There were presidents speaking out. There were op-eds written. At one point, there was even a threat of a lawsuit. They were saying it was impacting their enrollment and the ability of students to attend college. So I think to say the program has been the subject of critique is a big understatement, Hallie.
So fast forward to today, right? This program's gotten folded into the bigger debate about canceling student loan debt, et cetera. If President Biden, and there's no indication he's going to do this right now, right? But if he were to wipe out at least some student loan debt, how would Parent Plus loans be affected?
Yeah, so this is complicated, right? The short answer is we won't know until student loan forward legislation passes. That said, right now there are ways that student loan debt and Parent Plus debt can get canceled. That's through discharge, that's through forgiveness, or that's through cancellation. Discharge would happen if a parent who borrowed or the student passes, and cancellation often happens through work. So if you're a teacher in a public service program, but ultimately it's very clear that the level of debt that so many parents are holding is an issue that the government is going to have to address.
Zincle Esamaa. Zincle, great to have you on with us. Thank you so much.
Okay, so you see that this is a huge problem. Now, this video is a little dated. So right now, the Supreme Court is deciding on the student loan forgiveness plan. So that executive order that President Biden put in place is now in the Supreme Court. They're going to have to look at it and see if this is something that they'll move forward with. So we don't know what's going to happen with that. But you see this is a major problem. And the people who are winning out in this whole situation, it's the schools. The schools are charging way too much money for you to go to college. And that's why people are having to take out these student loans. And now it's affecting people's retirement because they're not able to retire when they want to retire. And some people might not be able to retire at all. Now, I know this situation is probably the exception with this lady owing over $100,000 in student loan debt. But you still have people who are owing money in student loan debt. And I remember my situation. I owed like $27,000 in student loan debt when I finished college. The first thing that they do is they sit you down. So they have everyone come in the room. There's probably about 20 of us came in and they sat us down and they told us all the rules when it came to paying back your student loans and all this stuff. And one of the things, like I said, one of the things that they told us, bankruptcy is not an option. You're still going to have to pay your student loans back. And so I was able to pay it off. It took me a little while, but I was able to pay it off. But I knew I had to pay it off before I retired. That was one thing. I wasn't going to retire without paying my student loans off first. And so I was able to pay it off. I paid it off about 5 years ago. And I'm happy I did because now it allowed me to retire when I wanted to retire. But I want to know what you guys think about all this. Are you currently in a situation where you owe student loan debts for your children? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.